Watch her head. Don't let her pay off. This cargo is still plates for the Fogarty yard. And you still haven't told me how we got the order, not the Fraser line. After all, blood's thicker than water.
So's ink. And that's what contracts are made of. Weather seems to be holding.
Touch wood and don't tempt the devil.
Well, keep pressing her, Baines. I want to round Point Linus before nightfall.
Leave her to me. With the wind up her skirts, there's nothing afloat that can outpace her.
I don't understand, my father.
You mean chartering an Onedin ship to carry steel plates from Swansea?
Yes, one would almost think that the Fraser line was a competitor rather than our own company.
Patience, William, patience. By the end of the year, you will be your own master.
But until that day, I'm treated like a dog's body. Dunwoody has more authority than I have.
No one gives authority. Authority is something you take.
There'll be changes made. That I promise you. Dunwoody will go for a start.
Don't waste your energies on a clerk, William. Concentrate upon acquiring a full knowledge of the business. Always remember that a ship is a capital asset, and capital must be put to work.
Well, Samuel, have you had any further thoughts on that memorandum of mine?
Yes.
Well, do you agree?
Yes, in principle, Father, but surely one should first establish the business on a firm foundation before thinking of expanding.
Sentiment does you credit, my lad. Caution should always be the watchword. It's a principle I've adhered to for all my life.
You are growing more like your father every day, Samuel.
On the other hand, there are times when an occasion presents itself where you have to keep an eye on the future.
Your future, Samuel.
Well, no, as it happens, I was really thinking of the more immediate present, Sarah. You see, of late, we've had many inquiries from our out-of-town customers for goods to be delivered by parcel post. Now, I feel we can fulfill that demand by opening a new department, a country department.
Yes, I think that's a splendid notion, Father.
You do?
Yes, definitely.
Well, of course, it would mean that we'd have to expand the present store, build warehousing, a dispatch office.
Yes, all devoted to the postal trade.
Exactly.
Acquiring the land, building work, could cost a pretty penny.
It would cost a pretty penny. But talking of money, I've received a communication from Mr. Beaumont, who asks for the favour of my presence for a few minutes' conversation on a matter of business.
Oh, Mr. Beaumont, yes. A most charming man. We took sherry with him, do you remember? He was most complimentary toward you, Robert. Quite taken with the new department store. The equal of any in London, he said.
Ah, well, Beaumont's a man who keeps his ear to the ground. I mean, he doesn't just throw sherry parties for the pleasure of your company. Oh, no, he's heard something, I'll warrant.
You mean, what does he want from you, Father?
Exactly. And you know, you must always question the motives of a spider before entering its web.
Will you go?
Well, why not? I mean, even spiders sometimes bite off more than they can chew.
The weather's closing in, sir.
Rubbish. A trifle of sea mist. Nothing to trouble an experienced master. And you are an experienced master, Captain Oliphant?
Oh, yes, sir. Indeed, sir. But out in the bay, it'll be thickening up like a hell's broth, if you'll pardon me, sir.
You would prefer to wait until the fog lifts?
Yes, sir.
Idle ships cost money. Money that does not come out of your pocket, Captain. We pride ourselves that Fraser ships leave on time and arrive on time. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, sir. But the fog may slow us down a little, sir.
If this ship does not arrive in Belfast on time, I shall want to know why. Do you understand me?
Yes, sir.
What is it, Dunwoody?
Sir Daniel has returned the documents without signing them, Mr. Fraser. He suggests 1 or 2 amendments.
In a moment. If your spirit is queasy, Captain, I can readily find a dozen to take your place.
That won't be necessary, sir. I simply thought it my duty to inform you of the situation.
I can see for myself. But let us canvass the opinion of a humble clerk. Dunwoody, you've just crossed the river. What was the weather like?
Oh, the fog is thickening, sir.
But the ferries are still running.
Yes.
Perhaps I should employ a ferry boat, Captain. You have your orders, Oliphant.
Yes, sir.
Sail on time, arrive on time. That is all I ask. Good day to you.
I'll do my best, sir.
The documents, Dunwoody. I can't imagine my Uncle James keeping ships idle and capital tied up just because of a little mugginess.
Let go! Hold on! Make fast! Run up the anchor light and set fog watches, Mr. Mate. This stuff's like pea soup, sir. I'm afraid, Sir Dan Old Fogarty, I'll have to wait for his steel plates.
Well, they've lifted by sunup. We'll be alongside in time for breakfast. You made good time, Baines. Very good time.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I think I'll turn in. Keep a sharp lookout, will you?
Right, sir.
Good night, then.
Right, sir. Keep that fog bell ringing.
Another blast, Mr. Judd. Enough to cut with a knife. Damned owners. That young monkey should be here instead of giving me orders from an office chair.
Port and red and white.
Well, at least we're on the right side of the channel. Keep her steady, quartermaster. Another blast, Mr. Judd.
Sound that fog bell. Keep it ringing.
What was that? Fog boy. Weren't it?
Port boy coming up. Red and white.
We're on course.
Keep ringing that bell.
Damn thing. Which boy is it? Quickly, man!
There it is. Can't see clearly. Looks conical. Black and white.
Bracken, My God, we must be on the wrong side of the channel! Starboard your helm! Bring her round!
Sheer off! Sheer off! Over the side! Abandon ship! Abandon ship! Abandon ship! Abandon ship!
It's going fast. Now, there's not much more we can do. Just make sure everybody's off the ship.
There's me in the water! Sir! All hands! All hands!
I'm not to blame. You stupid, sick-brained idiot. That was one is blind. Couldn't you hear our fog bell? No, I was confused. I thought... What? I thought you were crossing my bow. Crossing your bows? It don't affect the command. That's going to cost you your ticket. And your owner's a pretty penny, too.
Where is he? I'm Captain Baines of the Neptune, and you just lost me my ship.
Captain Baines? And who are you? I'm James Onedin. If you haven't heard of me now, you will do soon. I was only carrying out orders.
Incompetence, sheer incompetence.
I thought he was crossing my bows.
Yes, so you state. I wouldn't put it past Uncle James.
Sir?
In your deposition, you state you believed you were in the fairway, were you?
The fog was so thick.
Were you or were you not in the fairway?
The fairway? Well, no doubt in my mind we were picking up the marker boys, but...
But what?
Well, Mr. Judd was keeping a sharp lookout to starboard. He sighted a channel buoy, but he couldn't identify it clearly, and then everything happened so quickly. The ship loomed out of the fog. She was right on top of us.
She was ahead and crossing your bows.
That was my impression, sir.
I want facts, not impressions. The Neptune was a total loss?
I'm afraid so, sir.
Have you any idea how much this could cost the insurers?
Mr. Onedin said he was only half insured.
Well, someone gave that master orders to make a fast passage, despite the fact that Liverpool was fog-bound before he even left the docks.
William would never do such a thing.
He's young and inexperienced. He's made a costly mistake. Just thank God there was no loss of life.
Well, I think you're jumping to conclusions, James. You yourself have a reputation for cutting corners. Perhaps this Captain Oliphant took a leaf out of your book.
No, he has a reputation for being a cautious man. Not the sort to go blinding through a fog without good reason. When I spoke to him, he was in a state of near collapse.
Well, that's understandable. A collision can be a pretty unnerving experience. More so when he was suddenly confronted by the formidable James Onedin.
Oh. Well, you can treat the loss of £7,500 lightly if you want to, but I can't, and I won't.
7,500?
Your cargo was insured, but the ship for only half its value.
Well, James, I did warn you.
You took the risk, James. You must stand the loss.
I expect Fraser's to indemnify me.
Well, on what grounds?
A clear-cut case. The man was off course and ran us down.
Can you prove it?
I shall.
Ah. Good of you to call at such short notice, Mr. Onedin.
Mr. Beaumont.
You will take a glass of sherry.
Well, whiskey is more to my taste, if you don't mind. I have but 5 minutes.
Business is a hard task, Master.
So let's come to the point.
You're a man after my own heart, Mr. Onedin. Time is money, and not to be lightly discarded. Please.
Thank you.
During the course of a little social gathering the other day, when I had the privilege of meeting your good lady, I heard a rumor that you had expressed interest in a certain property.
You have been well informed.
It is a banker's business to acquaint himself with the financial affairs of the more prominent members of our community. Banking is a competitive business, Mr. Onedin.
It is indeed.
I am aware, of course, that the property itself is of no great value. But if my assumption is correct, the development of the site would require a quite considerable outlay of capital.
Oh, if it were developed, that's true.
In which case, you may possibly wish to avail yourself of the facilities of a bank.
Not at usurious rates of interest, I trust.
By no means. I believe we could accommodate you at a modest 1.5%.
That's a small enough profit.
Not if measured against a guaranteed return.
Guaranteed? I presume you mean securities?
In your case, a formality. For myself, your reputation would stand you in good stead. But I am a banker, and my hands are tied.
What kind of securities did you have in mind?
Well, there's nothing more solid than bricks and mortar, as I'm sure you would be the first to agree.
The house? Oh, that's in my wife's name.
You have taken advantage of the new act.
I have, indeed.
A very wise decision, if I may say so. No, I think the deeds to the department store would be sufficient.
More than sufficient. But I think not, Mr. Beaumont. Should I require additional capital, I think that my name and reputation will be quite sufficient security. However, I'm glad of this opportunity to have met you, Mr. Beaumont. Good day.
Good day.
And why must we continue to live in a hovel like this?
Your father and I found it quite comfortable.
Oh, comfortable. Well, why can't we have a country residence like Uncle Robert or a townhouse like Aunt Elizabeth?
They feel they've got a position to keep up.
Well, Papa could well afford it.
Well, no doubt, but he chooses to live here.
And the neighbourhood is positively run down.
Oh, Charlotte, not exactly a slum.
I have nowhere, absolutely nowhere, to entertain my friends.
Well, if your friends are only impressed by appearances, perhaps you should choose them with more care.
Oh, it's only Samuel.
Well, he seems a very frequent visitor these days. Samuel, we're just about to have some tea. Will you join us?
Oh, thank you, Aunt Letty. Bought these for you on my way.
From an itinerant flower seller, I expect.
Yes, I did, yes.
Well, I'll go and put them in water.
Shall I help?
No, thank you.
Oh, well, I seem to have put my foot in it. What was all that about?
I'm afraid she's in one of her moods today.
Oh, dear. Oh, perhaps I'd better go.
Now sit down, Samuel. She'll be back in a few minutes.
Pouting and smiling very prettily, I assure you.
I don't think she knows I exist.
Oh, now, what's the old saying? The race does not always go to the swift.
Ah. I hear Cousin William's crossing swords with Uncle James. Perhaps he'll come a cropper.
Well, anyone who crosses swords with your Uncle James lives to regret it.
Well, it may seem a simple matter to you, Mr. Onedin, but the insurers I represent regard this as a sizable claim.
But they're only liable to half the value of the Neptune. Damn it, man, why quibble? No need for you to have come down to investigate, you know. Just tell them to pay up and be done with it.
No, believe me, if it were as simple as that, I would. But there really does seem to be a conflict of evidence.
Oh, now, look. Fraser's trying to wriggle out of his obligation. Don't you play the same game.
My principals feel that in the absence of corroborating evidence, payment ought to be withheld, pending further investigation.
Corroboration? You have the evidence of both Captain Baines and myself. What else do you want?
But there must have been other witnesses. I mean, there's no loss of life.
A ragtag, bobtail crew, on a short voyage. They'll be spread far and wide by now.
Oh, I'm very sorry. But you do see the difficulty, don't you, Mr. Onedin?
No. You'll see, Mr. Buxton. You'll see.
You could face a massive claim.
I know.
Well, perhaps Oliphant is right. The Neptune, racing home with a cargo, crossed his bows.
It would be typical of Uncle James.
This Captain Oliphant, is he to be trusted?
No, he's honest enough.
No, I don't mean that. I mean, can he be trusted to stand up to rigorous cross-examination?
No, he's weak.
Well, then my advice to you is to get him to sign a sworn deposition. Take him through his story stage by stage, refresh his memory. Once attested, it will be too late to retract. There was another witness, a man named Judd.
Yes, third officer making his first trip. He served his time with us.
No doubt an ambitious young man. Eager to be off to sea again, I expect.
I've already found him another berth. He sailed for South Africa this morning, together with the Condor's helmsman.
I think your Uncle James has met his match.
Sometimes I think Papa simply vents his spleen on poor William, for no reason at all.
Oh, I don't believe there's any real animosity on Uncle James' part.
Well, I'm quite sure there isn't any on William's.
There's bound to be a little ill feeling on both sides. After all, it is Fraser's responsibility.
Well, not according to William.
Oh, not specifically William, no. I meant that Captain Oliphant. I have it directly from Captain Baines.
Oh, Captain Baines. He seems to be your sole topic of conversation these days.
Oh, I do apologize, you're quite right. We didn't come for an afternoon stroll to discuss other people's affairs. No, I can think of a much more pleasant topic. Charlotte, there's a concert at the Liverpool Philharmonic Hall next week, and I hoped you might honour me with the pleasure of your company.
It's 4 o'clock. William said he might call over for tea. Oh, please excuse me, Samuel, but I mustn't be late.
Oh, sorry, Samuel.
You keep a good cellar there, Robert.
Ah, well, I prefer the grain to the grape myself, but then every man to his taste.
An excellent dinner, too.
Ah, well, Sarah knows my taste to the merest pinch of salt. She rules that kitchen like a martinet.
Right, then let's get down to business.
Business?
Oh, come, Robert. I know you of old.
Oh, Samuel, you're cheating.
I'm not.
Well, you nudged my arm. I shall take my turn again.
But you really must learn to be a good loser. I think we should leave these two young people to play this game out on their own, Letty.
Daniel tells me that you've moved into the Australian wool trade for your long-haul ships.
I have.
General cargo out. Well, you know, I think I can put a bit of business your way.
I don't know about that. Our manifests are pretty well filled.
Ah, well. Suit yourself, we'll say no more about it.
I could possibly top off with a few parcels.
Do you think you could find room for 1,000 rolls of linoleum, half a dozen crates of crockery, 40 bales of linen, and 60 cases of furniture and a few pianos? Well, I mean, you know, there are 1 or 2 other odds and ends as well. Do you know, I do believe that I have a list here of the individual items.
Odds and ends?
Huh?
Plain cottons, worsted, millinery, umbrellas,
No,
carpets,
there's a
rugs.
flourishing trade for British household goods abroad.
So it would seem this would fill an entire tween decks. Business must be good.
It is. I intend to have a catalogue printed and then distributed throughout the colonies.
Got an eye for the future, eh?
It's trade, James, trade. You and I, we could work hand in glove, you know. I supply, you deliver.
Well, if the price was right.
If the price is right, aye.
It will be.
Plus discount.
I'm not a shopkeeper.
But I am, James, I am.
You'd have a hard bargain.
I had a good teacher.
What have you two been discussing?
Empire building, my dear.
Could have far-reaching consequences.
Oh, those are my feelings exactly, Daniel. You see, the parcel post business is in its infancy, and I thought I'd take a leaf out of James's book by setting up a subsidiary company to deal with overseas orders.
Bearing your name or Samuel's?
Well, Samuel's, I think. I mean, the lad has shown interest in the project, and I think I can kill two birds with one stone.
Oh?
Well, you know he's always had this hankering to go to sea. Well, I thought I'd give him a year to get the nonsense out of his system, you see. Pack him off as a supernumerary. And that way he can both gain experience and act as my agent for the company.
Buying in from abroad?
Well, I should see to it that he was supplied with a shopping list.
Well, that boy of yours has a taste for salt water, and swallowing the anchor in one enormous gulp is no mean task.
You managed it.
With difficulty. We've come a long way since the old days, Robert.
Aye, we have indeed.
No doubt you aim to go further.
As I'm sure you do too, Daniel. Now then, I have a proposition to put to you. I heard the other day that there's a cotton mill coming up on the market.
A mill?
Darlington's of Oldham. The old chap's retiring, and there's no family.
Well, are you suggesting that I buy it?
Exactly.
You know, I'm afraid I don't quite see myself in the role of mill owner.
No, Fraser's ship in raw cotton. The mill makes it up, and I can guarantee you an outlet.
How?
Well, I've already offered James the bait. He can blaze the trail.
Well, have you discussed this scheme with James?
Oh, of course not. This is just between ourselves. No, James's sailing ships open up the Australian market, and Fraser's steamships the Indian. I tell you, Daniel, I foresee in the near future that we're going to need more than one mill.
We?
A partnership.
Well, I thought you'd had more than enough of partnerships, Robert.
Oh, with James, of course I have. But you and I, we could work together.
You are a man of vision, Robert.
You'll keep this in the strictest confidence.
Oh, I shan't tell a soul, not even Elizabeth.
Well, especially not Elizabeth. Elizabeth's a born chatterbox, and you know women with this
I
kind
shall
of
keep
gossip.
it as a surprise.
And you agree?
Well, in principle. At first things first, where do I find this Mr. Darlington?
Young man, we were lying in a safe anchorage outside the main channel. I know it. Captain Baines knows it. So does your Captain Oliphant.
Nevertheless, in the absence of evidence to the contrary, I must accept his account. Tell me, Uncle, all your charts, ship's log.
Went down with the ship. I'll have to do better than that, young lad. Now tell me, have you no witnesses? Junior officer on the bridge?
Yes, Mr. Judd, but I'm afraid he's unavailable. He's making another voyage to Australia.
It won't work, young man. Fraser's owe me £7,500, and no young whippersnapper of an office boy's going to stand in my way.
In the absence of evidence, Uncle, you are hardly in the position to sue anyone.
Oh. I shall obtain evidence, young man. Never you fear. And when I do, you're going to rue the day that you were born.
Samuel? A company of his own?
Well, it'll give the lad an aim in life. He'll soon buckle down to business. Yes, you see, I thought Samuel Onedin Warehousing Limited. No. Samuel Onedin Parcel Post Limited. No. Samuel Onedin. Parcel Services Limited. No, it's not quite right, is it? No, I'll think of something.
It will still be family.
Well, of course, yes. I shall register it as a private company with Robert Onedin Limited owning a majority of the shares.
Oh, well, you know best, dear.
Yes. Right. You know, Sarah, I've a good mind to ask Daniel if he'd consider taking a seat on the board.
Sir Daniel Fogarty. That would add an air of distinction to Samuel's notepaper. Here. You hadn't thought of asking James as well, had you?
Oh, I'm for fend. No, giving him a month, James will try to take control of the company. Oh, no. James can build his own empire. I'll build mine. Oh, Sarah. I've got such plans for the future. Far-reaching plans.
Milady,
Yes, Mr. Dunwoody?
this business of the collision. I feel there's something you ought to know.
We have a witness.
A pettifogging clerk. I'll deal with him later.
William, if it should come to my notice that you have seriously upset Dunwoody, you will no longer occupy this office. Do I make myself clear?
You forget that in 7 months this business will be mine.
And much can happen to that business between then and now, so don't cross me, young man.
Anything which affects the good name of Fraser's is important. If we are liable, we shall pay. Now, for the second time, did you or did you not put pressure on the master to such an extent that he was forced to take unnecessary risk?
Captain Oliphant has the reputation of being an overcautious man. He was reluctant even to leave port.
I would have thought twice about it myself.
You know very well that ships do put to sea in far worse weather. How they proceed is entirely the decision of the master. I merely impressed upon him the fact that we had a contract to fulfill.
Very well, we shall assume Fraser's were at fault. We shall pay.
No. The cause of the collision is contained in Captain Oliphant's statement. The Neptune crossed his bows. Uncle James took the risk, not Oliphant. Uncle James also had a contract to fulfill. Yours.
Ring for Dunwoody. And the onus of proof would seem to rest with Captain Oliphant. Now, Dunwoody, my compliments to Captain Oliphant, and ask him to present himself here at 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Very good, sir.
I shall get to the bottom of this.
So you won't retract?
I dare not, Mr. Neaton.
Pretty poor berth you've got here. I could find you better. Come on. You know the truth of it, and so do I. Tell the truth, and I'll get you back to sea on a well-found ship. I have my word for it.
I'm caught between wind and water.
Wind and water? You'll be caught between judge and jury. Do you think you could stand up to questioning in a civil court?
Court of law. It won't come to that, sir, will it?
It will if I don't get satisfaction. Choice is yours. Make up your mind. Only quickly.
Ah, Captain Oliphant.
Charlotte's at a difficult age. Such tantrums.
Girls always are much more difficult than boys. But then, James always did want a son.
In the past, perhaps.
Well, yes, but then marrying so late in life.
I'm not that old, Sarah. I can still bear children.
Well, as we all know, children are the blessing of the Almighty, and it is not for us mortals, and that includes James, to question his purpose.
I think children can be a mixed blessing. Daniel and myself are of the same opinion, not to treat babies as the necessary fruits of matrimony.
Well, I declare, Elizabeth, sometimes I think you are totally without shame. How can you be so indelicate?
Oh, Sarah, really? I noticed that you and Robert have not progressed beyond one.
Oh. Well, that also was the will of the Almighty.
I take it then that you're prepared to stand fast on your version of the events.
Yes, sir.
Through thick and thin?
Through thick and thin.
Very well, Oliphant.
Beg your pardon, sir. I think you should know that Mr. Onedin has approached me with an offer.
What sort of offer?
An offer of secure employment. If I will change my story.
Did he indeed?
There you are, dear.
Thank you.
Robert,
Yeah?
I took tea with Letty this afternoon, and she told me in the strictest confidence that she and James have decided against having any children.
Good Lord, the subjects you women find to gossip about.
You understand what it means?
Well, of course I do. It means that one day Charlotte will inherit everything.
Mm-hmm.
You mean Samuel and Charlotte? Oh, no, they're cousins. No, it'd never do.
William is also her cousin.
William? Good God, you don't mean to tell me that nonsense is still going on. James will never allow that.
Once she's 21, James will have no say in the matter. And after all, cousins do marry. Our own dear Queen is married.
That's a royal alliance. On the other hand, it would be a merging of empires.
Exactly. But if William should gain her hand, then Fraser's would, in the fullness of time, become one of the most important shipping companies in the north.
Yes. But she and Samuel?
It would be a very good match, Robert, dear. It really would.
Well, in that event, I think you ought to give the lad a little encouragement.
Well, James?
It's not a question of bribery. Your Captain Oliphant's a weak man, afraid for his livelihood. I merely offered him security in exchange for the truth.
I think we'd better have Oliphant up here.
Oh, don't trouble, I've already sent Baines to fetch him.
Poor old Oliphant. What happened?
He hanged himself. He took his own life.
William, first of all, remember that the blame must be equally shared by the others. They too brought pressure to bear. And secondly, although no one wishes to make capital from such a tragedy, Captain Oliphant's testimony now becomes virtually unchallengeable.
Why? Why did he do it?
Why? Well, surely it is obvious.
No. I think he blamed himself for the collision and was mortally afraid of the truth coming to light.
Truth? The truth is contained in his statement.
Which I encouraged him to write.
All you did was guide a confused man through a labyrinth of ambiguities.
I no longer know what to believe.
It's a bad business, James, a bad business. Poor man must have been in desperate straits. And the threat of having to appear in a civil court must have been too much for him.
An appeal to a court of justice can hardly be construed as a threat.
It can for some. James, you're in deep water. A dead man cannot testify, so that statement will never be rebutted.
That statement is not worth the paper it's written on. Never was, you know.
How can you say that, James, when your evidence lies at the bottom of the sea?
Exactly. Daniel Fogarty's steel plates are still down there, next to the Neptune's anchor, proving that we were outside the Boyd Channel. All I need to do is to fish them up.
You knew that all the time.
So I suppose did Captain Oliphant.
If you have problems, bring them home. Don't discuss them with strangers. You were saying?
Well, it was only after leaving Mr. Beaumont I came to realise Captain Oliphant's statement was misleading.
Who misled him?
Don't badger the boy, Elizabeth.
Look, it's time he realised that there's more to a company than just money. Growing up means more than merely acquiring a moustache. Those who make decisions must take the consequences of their actions. Do you understand, William?
Yes, Mother.
Very well, we shall say no more about it. Frasers will pay.
Yes, Mother. I also thought the Frasers should make provision for Captain Oliphant's dependents.
Well, it's the least we can do. But it shows that your heart's in the right place. Do you agree, Elizabeth?
A small but adequate pension. I think we should leave the amount to William. After all, it was his idea. And ultimately, the money will come from his own pocket.
So, Frasers have agreed to pay you.
Well, they have. How about your insurance company?
My principals are satisfied. They accept my recommendation that say you should be paid in full. You should receive their cheque within the course of the next few days.
Oh, you tell your principals that if they wish to retain my business, I shall expect it tomorrow.
I shall quite enjoy delivering your message. Tell me, did you ever intend dredging up one of those plates?
No. If Daniel Fogarty wants them, he knows where they are.
Well, Robert, what does it feel like to be part owner of a cotton mill?
Oh, we shan't stop at one.
You know, you have more ambition than James.
It's a path we've trodden for many a long year.
Well, I must leave you here, Robert. I've business in London. Now, I shall have the papers drawn up on my return.
Good, good. Good. You know, I'm quite looking forward to this dinner party tonight. I can't wait to see James's face.
Well, I'm sorry I won't be there when you tell him our news. My regards to Sarah.
Aye, goodbye, Daniel.
Goodbye, Robert.
Central Station, cabby.
Yes, Father's agreed for a period of 12 months.
12 months? Shan't he be singing for a whole year?
James, and about time too. Where have you been?
Elizabeth?
Oh, James, there.
Where's Daniel then, eh?
He's been detained in London on business, but Robert has very kindly consented to act as our host.
I'm a poor substitute, I'm afraid. But back with the resources of Elizabeth's kitchen and a choice bottle or two of wine from Daniel's cellar. I reckon I can pass muster, eh?
Come on then, let's see.
Right, come on then. Come on, everybody, sit you down. Come on, young William. Dropped a scratch, as your mother used to say. She did.
You may serve the soup.
This is my own special recipe, Letty. I gave it to the cook myself.
He just returned from Manchester, Robert.
Aye, on business, James. But mine, not yours.
James, don't pry into everyone else's affairs.
I'm not crying, I'm just curious. With Daniel absent, and I want to know.
I was only remarking to Daniel today how each of us have progressed from such small beginnings. I mean, Serie, she used to drive pigs to market.
Really, Robert?
I remember the day I first met you as though it were yesterday. You were like a little urchin, plastered with mud from head to foot.
Oh, Robert, how could you?
And now you're a lady, in every sense of the word.
Aye.
Oh, Robert.
Oh, Sarah, we should never be ashamed of our humble beginnings. Rather the reverse. I mean, look at me. I pulled myself up by my bootstraps, I'll tell you. I had the honour to represent the constituency in Parliament. I was able to afford for Samuel the best education that money could buy. And I hope you appreciate that fact, my lad.
Yes, Father.
Right. A fine country house.
The envy of all our neighbours.
Thank you. And what I venture to suggest is the finest retail store in Liverpool.
Now you've got your finger in some other pie.
Aye, and it's a big one, James, I'll tell you. I've got plans, great plans.
Well, you've got us all gathered here together. When are you going to enlighten us?
All in good time. You know, Elizabeth, this is really most excellent broth, love.
Well, you must thank Sarah, Robert.
It's your own favourite recipe, Robert.
Elizabeth, I hear that Frasers are going to pay Oliphant's widow a pension.
We believe it to be only fair and just.
Almost generous.
Too generous, if you ask me. I hope you put in the proviso that if she remarries, the pension discontinues. Otherwise, you might find yourself supporting some ne'er-do-well in idleness for the rest of your days.
Really, James, you are beyond belief. You not only count your own coppers, but you seem intent on counting everybody else's as well. Excuse me, I seem to have got something lodged in my throat.
Aye, one of your plans for the future, eh?
Found it, man. Give us a slap on the back.
Come along then, Robert. Cough it up, lad. Here, you better get some dry bread, Elizabeth. Come on then. Come on, cough it up.
I can't.
Hey. Leave it to me. He's got a bit of chicken bone stuck in his gullet, doesn't it? Now then, Robert, open your mouth. Oh.
A doctor. Fetch a doctor.
It's too late.